Hello. Today is December 4th, 2023, and we'll talk about two architects. We'll start with John Portman, the North American architect, and not just architect, and we'll find out why I say so. John Calvin Portman, born, as you can see, December 4th, 1924, so 99 years ago. Was an American neo-futuristic architect and real estate developer, widely known for popularizing hotels and office buildings with multi-storied interior atria or atriums. Portman also had a particularly large impact on the cityscape of his hometown of Atlanta, Georgia, with a Peachtree Center complex serving as downtown's business and tourism anchor from 1970s onward. The Peachtree Center area includes Portman-designed Hyatt, Westin, and Marriott hotels. Portman's plans typically deal with primitives in the forms of symmetrical squares and circles. This was the man. So infuriatingly successful as an architect, as a real estate developer, and as a painter. But I don't have here paintings by him. Portman incurred the mistrust of critics and his fellow professionals, in particular for combining the role of developer and architect. He was dangerously conflicted, they thought. For Portman, development was a means to achieve his artistic goals. Architecture is what I'm about, was one of his declarations. He also said, I came to the conclusion that if I were to have an impact and not be just part of a process I could not control, I should understand the entire project from conception through completion. That led me to real estate. On another occasion, he put the same point, pithily but grandiosely, like this: I am the Medici to my own Leonardo. Well, you know, Leonardo didn't build, but Portman did. So this was the man living also a long life, and with some of his buildings in the back, which I think are not bad. You know, a robust, massive, modern architecture. The atriums of his hotels are remarkable for the incredible élan vital upwards. I mean, you know, this man certainly was not thinking just about money, because he certainly lost money there. You know, I mean, look at this. You know, it's a void within the building of giant dimensions. I mean, just think about, you know, air conditioning this space. Why did he go through the trouble of building such unbelievable atriums? There was a quest here that was not, in my opinion, mercantile. And you can see the architecture itself is giant. It's some kind of a mad quest for the infinite. If you can imagine something like this in the case of a hotel is a program almost eminently commercial, but somehow Portman was able to quest for something else here. And it's very possible, it's almost sure, that if he was not the client of his own works, he could not have built such things. I mean, what normal so-called developer or real estate client would accept something like this? But you know, this man who was probably a gentleman, and with some kind of a bizarre intersection between artistic goals and materialistic goals. Because yes, if you are in real estate, in the real estate business, you cannot just be a dreamer with lofty aspirations. But somehow he was able to marry the lofty aspirations with the pragmatic ones of the real estate agent or real estate, mega person, because obviously he was a mega person. I mean, again, could any so-called normal architect build something like this? I'm looking just at this fragment of one of his hotels. Could 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 a normal person, a normal architect, if there is such a thing, and probably there is, build something like this just for himself or for herself? Now here we see something in China, the Beijing Yintai Center in China. Okay, maybe it's not the most strikingly novel or original complex of buildings, but they are not bad either. I only regret that at the top, and not just the top, but also here, in the middle, if you would have left these prisms totally unchanged, I think it would have had a better, a stronger impact visually. But even so, and you see, they are in close proximity to the famous and intriguing and controversial building by Rem Koolhaas, except that Portman built many more, and just not just this one. But somehow the buildings by John Portman, although they do not have the acrobatics of the one built by Oma and Rem Koolhaas, they have a certain dignity in the straightforwardness that is to be appreciated, in my opinion, without being, banal. So, John Portman in China. Yeah, again, I think the towers would have been more powerful and more, impressive aesthetically if he didn't indulge in, changing the buildings at the top, and also in some parts in the center of the towers. I think he weakened a little bit the buildings in this way, but who knows? Anyway, even so, I don't think these are buildings to be ashamed of, and he was not. Here he is, probably around 90. It's not easy to be a painter, an architect, and a real estate a mega man like he was. So this is what he said. Architecture is not about things; it is about people and life. John Portman said to the dean of the Graduate School of Design at Harvard, Mohsen Mostafavi, in a wide-ranging interview that starts off the provocative book Portman's America and Other Speculations, published last year by Lars Müller. Portman's words are not notable in themselves. They are the kind of cliched line almost every architect has uttered at one time or another. What makes them striking is how passionately Portman believed in them. Marriott Marquis Hotel, Times Square, in New York City. So this is another hotel or mega hotel he built for himself in New York City. This is the model. And this is the building with its vertical stomach, the atrium, the huge atrium that is a trademark of this very intriguing, almost infuriatingly so, architect. Because again, you ask yourself, what was the reason he created these giant vertical spaces that do not serve a measurable purpose during construction? New York City, Manhattan, right there, in Times Square. Yes, it's a commercial building. It is, and it has no reason to claim otherwise. It is openly a commercial structure but somehow it transcends commercialism because of this, particularly because of this central, atrium of unbelievable dimensions. Well, the plans, it's a hotel, but he could have, if he would have eliminated, and you can imagine how much, how much he had to pay for, because we are talking about the core of New York City, of Manhattan. Here, every square inch costs a fortune. So he allowed himself to have this giant open space that could have been eliminated if he would have used these rooms on the other side of this corridor. The building would have occupied 1/3 of the footprint that it occupies now. So why did he choose to so-called lose so much space? We remember what Philip Johnson said, that architecture is the art of losing space. And this is the model, and it's not bad, even as a model. If I have a certain discomfort, visual discomfort, is with the elevators. The elevators a little bit kinky, to express myself in this way. I wish they were more square to match the building, but maybe this is my aesthetical puritanism, or I don't know how to call it. Now the arabesques of the carpet could make one think of the Seattle Library by Rem Koolhaas, where he asked his girlfriend to design some very neurotical carpets. Here, these arabesques are not necessarily neurotical, but they are they show a different, aesthetical disposition than the building. The Atlanta Marriott Marquis Hotel, look at this. This was never done in the history of architecture, and it probably will never be done again. Because yes, now we are confronted with all kinds of crises, with sustainability problems, but these spaces do not leave you indifferent. I mean, just imagine, exiting your room in this hotel and seeing this core, this vertical core of giant dimensions growing towards what? Should we say towards God? Look at this. In fact, the building, in a way, is what it is about what it is not, meaning the inner void. Because if you remove the rooms themselves with the accesses, the corridors, you get another building, which is actually not a building, is the absence of a building. So in a way, the building in this case is, as I said, the absence of a building. Very interesting case, this John Portman. And here you look at the expression towards the outside. It has a certain decency of structure. It's not banal. It has an austerity, which I think is to be appreciated. And this building is also by him. And this I also think is not bad. So the sculptures, I don't know who did the sculptures. Maybe they are his too. I mean, these men did everything. Maybe even the clouds on the sky and the blue sky as well. They do have power. Okay, maybe a certain predictability here is for all to see, but what is less predictable is the vertical stomach of the buildings, as I call them. John Portman, Atlanta. I understood that some, provocative, so-called futuristic buildings are filmed in Atlanta, thanks to John Portman and his, vision. I wonder what Piranesi would have thought of them. yes, in a way you regret that, this almost metaphysical vertical space is actually, the core of a building, which essentially in its program is commercial. That's what a hotel is. But this space within, in the center, I don't think I'm totally wrong if I am tempted to call it metaphysical. It is almost as if John Portman wanted to say, look, you are tourists, you spend your money as you want to, you are welcome in our city and so on. But beyond this, beyond yourself, beyond your tourism, there is something else, something higher than you. I mean, these are almost like some kind of a commercial, some kind of a commercial cathedral. If you could accept such an outrageous oxymoron, a commercial cathedral. Because certainly you do not rent a room, and most surely not an inexpensive room in a in a hotel to experience it as a unexpected and implausible cathedral, commercial or not. That's not why you rent a room in a hotel. So to talk about God in the case of a mega hotel is seems to be difficult to accept. The Hyatt Regency Atlanta, another hotel by him. Again, I think he had a problem with the top of some of his buildings. Like I think this building would have been better if the top part was not there. But he tried to become fancy at the top, to add something, aerial, and I don't think he was successful. If he would have left the box, the cube, as we look at, just as it is, in my opinion, would have been better. Unfortunately, there was a side of him that wanted to become fancy, like the kind of elevators he chose, and also that top part of the building, which is, in my opinion, a little bit facile and too commercial and too eye-catching and too unidentified flying object and whatever. But the building without that thing, in my opinion, would have been better. Like here, we see it here in this, maybe that was an afterthought. This building, could have been a good relative of buildings by IMP and others like him and them. Unfortunately, he felt the need to add these fancy things, which I don't know. And also, again, the elevators with the almost Muslim aesthetics at the top and at the bottom. I don't know why he needed that. I mean, I don't want to be misunderstood. I have the highest respect and admiration and even love for Muslim architecture. I'm talking about the formal aspects of the elevator, which are a little bit and make one think actually of Las Vegas or casinos for Trump or for someone else. I guess the real estate agent in him, the businessman, sometimes took over the subtle artist, and that's what we got. The Hyatt Regency Atlanta, September 1967. You see here, the tendency to, get carried away by almost surrealism. Peachtree Center in Atlanta. Here he is, the businessman, dressed as a businessman and like a god. I mean, Please try to imagine, dear architect, dear student in architecture, having so much power that you can build so many buildings, big buildings for yourself. I mean, you pay for them yourself with your own money. It's unbelievable. And actually, what I look at here is not bad. In my opinion, this is not a bad architecture. It's a good architecture. It's a good architecture because although it is very straightforward and monolithical, because of the divisions that he created in the monolith, you see the three parts, this shows a certain sensitivity and a certain it's a plus the vertical windows, because we know modern architecture usually was you know some kind of a love affair with a horizontal window, but he uses narrow and tall windows. Yes, they do create you know some kind of horizontality, but the horizontality is composed actually of small vertical narrow windows. He was not a bad architect. Sorry to say it. I mean, it's ridiculous what I'm saying. Sorry to say it, but he was not a bad architect. He had Regency San Francisco. Again, you know, John Portman, unstoppable in his élan vital towards the sky. And here we see the you know the plan, the view from the top. He also built this building of the picture that we just looked at, and I commented on the division, on the fragmentation, if I can call it so, of the monolith. He also built this building, which we are going to see. But he built all these buildings, again, ladies and gentlemen, for himself. It would have been so great if he would not have used this Bonanza architecture and also this thing, perhaps. It would have been sober and still impressive through its, you know, geometry. Here is a rendering. Again, I think he weakened his architecture with these additions at the top, and also what he tried to do in you know on the first floor. John Portman. Again, you know, a speculative real estate, you know, person would not have spent millions, probably many millions, to create these, you know, sometimes complex geometries, and also to create those giant voids within the building, like what we see here. I mean, this is more impressive as an interior space than most cathedrals afford it. And he did it for a number of hotels. What is worth mentioning, I think, is indeed architecture is at the meeting between the private and the public. And here the public dimension, because essentially a hotel, yes, is a public building, but with individual rooms that are, you know, served by a corridor. But here, the publicness of the hotel, the collectiveness of the hotel is also strongly envisioned, externalized, suggested through this giant vertical stomach, this giant atrium. It is as if, again, he says, okay, dear tourist, you are yourself, your name is this one, your room number is this one, but beyond your room number and your name, there is something higher and something bigger. And what is that something? Because it is almost surreal to say that this man was thinking of God when he made his hotels. But why did he make these immensely expensive architectures with these spaces which are not used in a, you know, common sense? You know, a functionalist would never build something like this. The complications deriving from this indulgence in these giant vertical public spaces where nothing happens were immense. I mean, I wonder what this pair felt contemplating this absence of architecture in the center. So of course he irritated architects. It's normal. I mean, this man had everything most architects would like to have and don't. Disneyland for adults, John Portman's dizzying interior legacy. That's how someone, maybe with a touch of, bad tendency said. Atlanta is the future. At least makers of films and TV series think so, especially those who create visions of times to come. In The Hunger Games, The Walking Dead, and Divergent, the city appears unnamed as the setting for omnipotent rulers and dark deeds. Sometimes you see its towers, sometimes soaring, swirling atria of unreadable scale. Of course, this is about Portman's hotels. They tend to convey megalomania, dystopia, and disorientation. This cinematic Atlanta was shaped by one man in particular, the architect developer John Portman, who until he died last year spent almost all of his 93 years in the city. Well, last year was not 2022. I took this text, but he died recently. The hotels, malls, and offices that from the early 1960s started to define the downtown, the Merchandise Mart, the Hyatt Regency Hotel, the Peachtree Center, the Marriott Marquis, are his work. These were not just profitable commercial ventures. Portman ended up with a personal wealth of hundreds of millions of dollars, but in his eyes, works of art. Urbanism that forgot the urban, John Portman's legacy in Detroit. The Renaissance Center in Detroit. In my opinion, this is one of his worst works. I'm not impressed at all by this, particularly because of the extensive use of glass. Something is missing here. In my opinion, he became too commercial here, and Renaissance Center atrium at street level, courtesy of John Portman and associate. Anyway, this is the plan. But you can see that, this real estate mega man was also operating within the field of aesthetics and had, concerns with the plastic art, with the graphics, with a circle, with rotations, in other words, with form. With form, yes, because architecture is not just function, it's also form. If you don't have form, you don't have architecture. And I show a few of his plans for this building, which in my opinion is not impressive. But it is, again, a mega Portman building. We see his play with the octagon, which was so important for, he mentioned Leonardo da Vinci, that he was the mecena of his own Leonardo. Well, Leonardo, as you probably know, he in his designs, because he didn't build, but he flirted with architecture extensively, and in his sketches he employed the octagon very often. Now we see Portman. I don't know if he knew this about Leonardo, but it doesn't matter. But we see even here in these drawings a certain quest for a certain formal purity, and also variation, variety, because of the rotations. So there is a sense here that he was this real estate mega man. He was an architect as well. Anyway, I have here maybe too many drawings for this work, which actually I don't like so much. So let's wish him happy birthday, and let's talk a little bit, if you want, Thank you.